beauty of engaging with our customers, and that's something I keep saying, I also serve as my bank's ombudsman, which means that I sit down when a customer has a complaint. I can say to the business team and say, nope, you are refunding this customer. Okay? We do that many times. Because what we keep saying to ourselves is customers are not saying banks will not make mistakes, no. But customers are saying, when you make a mistake, can you please acknowledge it? And can you please say sorry to me? Okay? So when my friend here, partner in KPMG, was saying banks are apologizing, I said, excuse me, we've been apologizing for a while though. We have. But the thing is, more and more customers are saying, don't hold my money for 1 month or for 2 months. When there is an error, reverse it, okay? And tell me sorry. You too, you're a bank, say you're sorry. So I find that my customers enjoy the fact that a big bank like First Bank is saying, I apologize. So we've learned to start our emails. When I talk to my customers, I've learned to say, I am so sorry for the inconvenience. And I find that that helps the customers calm down. I think that to talk to my sister in the regulatory bit, of course I know of her. I don't think banks are afraid of the regulators or don't want to work with the regulators. Several times we sit across the table, but what we ask for is the regulators must also understand what customers are asking for. Because it is customers that are asking for all these things, right? And then there are different connections. How do we as Nigeria give customers everything they want without inconveniencing them? Is the question we ask ourselves. Inconveniencing in terms of trust, inconveniencing in terms of integrity. Like you said, I don't know what bank it is, but everything we do, CBN tells us this is the minimum funds you must have. So you cannot make it less than 10. It cannot be. Which is why even as a bank, we try to reduce the forms that we have. But because CBN said, nope, the font must not be less than 10. And so that customers can read it, they agree to it, and then we can make that progress. I think that this dialogue is good. What I keep asking our regulators on the other side is that we must do nothing to take away the trust of the banks. Because Nigeria cannot progress if you don't have banks. Nigerians will not be on the map if you don't have strong financial institutions. The institutions are strong only because customers trust them. We have some customers who've been with us for 70, 80 years. And we're doing a series. There are some customers whose parents opened their accounts for them, and they're still with us. And the biggest thing they have with us is trust. It's also security. But we also want to make sure we don't get lost. So what I want to keep assuring the public is that my trust index, there's a question I ask my customers, do you trust us? It takes 15% on my scorecard as Chief Customer Experience Officer, because we said to ourselves as a bank that there's a lot of competition out there. People are doing a lot of things, but we are First Bank. Being solid and staying solid is the most important thing to us. So that trust index is so important to us as a bank, because without trust, how can you have banks? But that is not to say we don't get it right, that we get it right all the time. But I think this is an opportunity for us to all work together. Okay? What are we not doing well? And who should we really be talking to? So we have the regulators. How can CIBN also collaborate as well? How do we make sure that all these issues we're dealing with? Because I don't think there's any bank that just wants to be a Shylock and not please their customers. More and more we're saying customer experience equals to profitability. Honestly, I was doing an analysis with my CEO. Do you know that the happiest customers that we have, the most satisfied, are the most profitable for us as a bank? So you cannot divorce the two. So for me, I hope that there will be an outcome from this where we have many more engagements.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Lande. You just nailed it. From engagement, which is the voice of a customer, to resolution, to providing what the customer wants, but what are the implications for that? And we then come to the area of in-depth customer education. I like the way you put it, that we have customers who are not so exposed. You know, they are learned and they're very literate, but to the issues that impact banking and how they keep themselves safe, they may actually not be. So we need to do a lot more there. And you also took it to the point of collaboration, which is what is taking me to my next speaker, which is Oguche, talking from the pensions point of view. Where does all this aggregate? We've talked about trust on this side. I also need to trust that my pensions will not go into certain investments and all of us are your customers, so we lay you at the gate here now. So we need to hear how you take it forward from that bit. What are we asking for? What have you provided? How does trust come into play? And what is the role of the pensions group in all of this? Thank you, Oguche.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for ACAMB for inviting me. I think, as a country, when it comes to pensions, most of us, whether we have our dad, our mom, our auntie, who have been with the old pension system. So in our minds, when we hear pensions, we hear of people queuing, we hear of delay my pensions, we hear of fraud. So that's in our psyche. And even when I engage with customers under this new pension scheme, it's the same thing they have. And when you try to explain to them, they say it's a lie. You hear the general pension is a scam. And that has been something we've been trying to counter. But I think, we need to do more. So we engage a lot with the pension correspondents. I see some of them here, or finance correspondents, to let people know. Sometimes pensions can be a bit complex. And when I engage with colleagues, I try and tell them we need to simplify these things, because most of the people that are managing pensions, have worked for years, whether it's investments, returns, compounding. The average Nigerian doesn't understand these things. So we need to be able to break it down and let people trust us, right? You were talking about recently and items in the news about using people's pensions for investing in infrastructure and things like that. And someone who used to work in the pension industry, she saw me recently and she says, "Oh, I was waiting for you to issue a statement that my pensions are safe." And I was saying, if you who work in the industry are asking this, then how much more? But I think we need to do a bit more, a lot more as an industry to educate people, especially with the pension system we have. Last weekend, we hosted federal lawmakers, legislators, and some of the things they always ask is that, pension funds, financial institutions generally, we make a lot of money, we keep the money doesn't go to the end user. And I told them that if any of you has a pensions account, if you check the pensions account, you'll see how much you have contributed, and you'll see how much the pension fund has made. It's also regulatory. The PenCom says we must do that. So for everyone that is investing in, has a pensions account, you can see how much your money has generated for you. And I think it's something that we need to do more, just in terms of educating, just in terms of simplifying, and just in terms of letting people engage with their pensions throughout their lifetime. Most people is when you retire, maybe when you get to 60, or depending on retirement age, that you now begin to think of your pensions. But what we're encouraging is right through your journey. As a matter of fact, someone says you start planning for your retirement when you start working. You should begin to also think about, how much do I want to get in retirement? What else can I begin to put aside? How much voluntary contributions? Because the money that is taken compulsorily is by law. But you can decide to say, okay, this is how much I want to have. I want to be a baller when I retire, so I'm going to be putting X more amounts in my pensions account. And we're working on things like that you can enjoy your money today. And I know that's one reason people can see their accounts, tens of millions, and they can enjoy today. So things like mortgages. How can you, if you've contributed for about 60 months, you can use a portion of your pensions to be able to get a house. So you'll see more of that, to see how people can enjoy benefits today, even before they retire. But I think, just jumping on what Lande has said, over the years, the financial industry and the banks have been, sort of a big brother to us, especially in terms of technology, accessibility. They've done a lot. And sometimes we don't acknowledge some of these things, and we look on the downside. Because I see that a lot in pensions, and people say, they talk about the negative aspect, people that haven't gotten paid. But we don't talk about the hundreds of thousands of people that have gotten paid. When I started banking, again, I was in the bank, customer service was about some ladies at the front desk. But now it's an experience, it's a journey, it's a career, right? And I think the industry, financial services industry, is taking that serious. Even in the pension industry, we've got people that are looking at data, looking at how much you contribute, the kind of things you want, and to see how we can do that more. So we might not be where the regulators want us to be, but I think we're far gone. And on a final point, I'll just talk about illiteracy. And you spoke about how, if we're honest with ourselves, the financial industry has probably moved quicker than Nigerians, even in terms of literacy. And that's something we need to commend ourselves to. But so the challenge is, do we come down to their level, or do they come up to their level? And that's what we need to do. And maybe if you listen on radio, we are doing some jingles in Hausa, Yoruba, Pidgin, and maybe we need to connect more and bring some of these concepts to the level of people to connect. But I guess we are committed, and we will continue to do this for the benefit of the customers. Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that. And, we're about building bridges and finding innovative solutions. So it's again about what do you know of what is on the offer. So we need to increase that education. We need to increase our beat to let the customer understand the link between innovation, what we want to give them, what they want, and how the usage is going to be, which then boils down to the experience. And honestly, I know we're all sold to experience because we also are customers and we want to experience the best. So thank you so much for that. And I'm a pensioner. I'm pensions contribution. I'm smiling on my seat. I see my alert and I like the fact, and as a matter of fact, I actually applied for my contribution for mortgage and it's been approved. So it's working, and we need to see more of that. People need to be able to find value in their contribution while they can do it. Let them not work for somebody else to come and enjoy. The last but not the least is the doctor himself, Dr. Uju Ugubunka. He's going to talk about the perspective of the bank's customer. I think so. You're just going to help us round this up in 5 minutes to say all of what we've said. How does this sit with us? What is that one thing that we need to do differently that's not been done in building trust and ensuring that our solutions sit well with the customer? Away with it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Let me start by saying that I was invited to give a keynote address. And that is as holding the portfolio of the President of Bank Customers Association of Nigeria. And I'm sitting here as a panelist. There are two different things. But all the same, I will make the contribution. All of you gathered here, ladies and gentlemen, if there is anybody that does not have a bank account, can you show by raise of hand? If you don't have a bank account in this country, show by raise of hand. Anybody? So you're all my members. May you have a round of applause for yourselves, please. The bank customer has come a long way in this country and in fact elsewhere. Without customers, there is nothing like banking or bank. And that's the truth. Banks don't serve themselves. They serve their customers. And it is in their interest that they make these customers happy. Whatever they can do to do that will be very, very, very welcomed. And that will be serving self-interest. I had put in the paper I prepared that the problems of customers are induced by banks. They are all induced by banks. Banks do not obey the laws. They do not obey the codes in the industry. They do not obey the guidelines that have been set up by the regulators